This spring, women will be searching for studs and beads and rhinestones. Those are the ways that you can dress up denim, and we know how you can get the season's hottest look for less. They say beautiful women can thank their jeans, and this spring season, nothing could be truer. Denim is fashion's fabric of the moment, and as these gotta-get-em clothes on the catwalk make clear, these are not your mama's blue jeans. Top designers like Tommy Hilfiger, Donna Karan, and Calvin Klein are featuring denim pierced with studs in their spring collections. And haute couture is just the half of it. Check out Macy's, where beads, patchwork, and embroidery ornament denim designs and keep the customers coming.
It's really hot right now because Tom Ford of Gucci started the trend a couple of seasons ago with decorated and embroidered and embellished denim, and it's taken off ever since.
Designer denim does not come cheap, but nobody says you've got to pay top dollar. Designer Ellie Joes says you can decorate your denim yourself at a fraction of the price. She easily glues rhinestones, ribbons, and applique on denim and says you don't have to be Martha Stewart to do it right.
If you know how to glue, if you know how to use an iron, if you know how to cut with a pair of scissors, you're set.
And don't think these denim looks are just a flash in the pan. Fashion forecasters predict decorated denim will take you in style right through the fall, if you dare. Designer Joe says just $15 of ribbon and rhinestones can transform your old jeans into a look that could cost what you'd pay $200-300 for in the store.
And finally, the story of a Ukrainian brotherhood fulfilling dreams to the limit. These brothers stand 6'7" and weigh between 240 and 250 pounds. They both speak 4 languages. They hold doctorate degrees in physical training, sport, and philosophy. And they can both knock you out. 26-year-old Vladimir Klitschko has followed in the footsteps of his brother Witali throughout his life and is now the reigning WBO heavyweight champion of the world.
I would like to do and try to do the whole things what my brother do, and try to do like this and try to do much better than him.
31-year-old brother Witali is in line to fight for Lennox Lewis's heavyweight crown next spring.
And I promise you, I won't use this chance, and I beat him.
Both brothers vie to be world champions at the same time.
And this dream will come true.
Without the dreams, life is boring.
But there's one limitation here. The Klitschko brothers will not fight each other.
How many $1 million costs mother's heart? And we don't want to break this heart.
No matter how much they said, I said $25 million for each of you. Undisputed championship. They said, no, we don't want to break our mother's heart. Aww. And they don't want to hurt each other either.
Yeah.
I'm Scott Clark, and that's it for sports. There's something else.
Yeah, and they're taller than you walking down the street there.
6'7", 240, 250, and PhDs for both of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Scotty.
Amazing.
We want to go now out to Lucy, who's at Artisan Way, right, Lucy?
That's right, Diana. Joining me live now is Carolyn Ortiz, all decked out in her lighthouse hat, her lighthouse jewelry. She has photographed more than 250 lighthouses around the country and has a fascinating story about Lady Liberty.
She was even a lighthouse. It was for 17 years, from 1886 until 1902. Lady Liberty shone her light in the New York Harbor.
Great, thank you very much. And that's it from the Artist Colony.
Drug companies are hitting the airwaves, magazines, newspapers, you name it, to get you to notice their products. Those products are prescription medicines they say could make a big difference in your life. Stacey Sager is here with more on this advertising blitz. Stacey.
Well, Roz and Rob, it's called direct-to-consumer advertising, and the drug companies are bombarding us with it lately. But does it really work, and is it really good for consumers? It's taking that age-old phrase, ask your doctor, to a whole new level.
If you ever watch TV, you can't miss ads like these.
Are you concerned about losing more hair?
Propecia fights hair loss. We all know what Viagra does. And Zocor fights heart disease.
Zocor is proven to help save lives.
Is everything okay?
For Ann Nguyen, certain ads hit home. Ann is an actress, but had to take steroids for a blood disorder. She broke out, gained 40 pounds, and wanted to feel like her old self again. The television ads for antidepressants appealed to her.
I saw these commercials and I thought it was a way for, you know, like it was speaking to me somehow.
Anne ultimately went to her doctor and chose therapy instead of antidepressants. But many critics of these new ads fear they will lead consumers to believe that perhaps there is a pill for every ill.
There's almost a romance with the idea that there's a drug to put you to sleep, a drug to wake you up, a drug to help your sex life, a drug to stop your being so sexy if you want to.
The drug companies insist the ads help to educate and to convince patients to visit the doctor when they normally wouldn't.
About 13% of the people who come to see a doctor say that they came because of a direct-to-consumer advertising.
It's only recently that the FDA set formal guidelines for the drug companies to run these types of ads on TV. And the drug companies are spending a fortune. A few years ago, it was $500 million. Well, now it's $1.3 billion.
Direct-to-consumer advertising is all about selling. It's not about educating the consumer. And what they're doing in most of these ads is fear-mongering, making us afraid of a disease that most of us never will get.
We think what you don't know can hurt you. Our approach is that direct-to-consumer advertising does two very important things. It educates you about diseases and it alerts you when there are new discoveries and treatments.
But it begs the question, how much is too much with side effects, like in this ad for Zenical.
You may experience gas with oily discharge, increased bowel movements, an urgent need to have them, and an inability to control them.
If you're going for this product to lose 30 pounds and to look better in a bathing suit, that, you know, I think will give you pause.
If you're leaking oil and you're peeing uncontrollably, why even, what is the benefit anymore?
That is a question many people might ask. Now, despite that, these ads have been very successful, and there is a concern that the cost of the ads will drive up the prices of these drugs even more. The FDA plans to review its policies on these commercials over the next couple of years. Roz and Rob.
Meantime, we'll keep seeing them on TV.
And laughing a little bit.
Yeah, chuckling once in a while. Thank you, Stacey. Freedom of the press is something often taken for granted in the United States. And if ever there were a harsh reminder of that, it's the recent murder of a Ukrainian journalist known for his anti-government reports. What makes this case so disturbing is that the president of Ukraine is actually at the center of it all. And New York City's Ukrainian population, 50,000 strong, wants to make sure his death is not in vain. Bill Butel reports.
His mouth symbolically taped shut, carrying a sign demanding freedom of speech. This type of demonstration on the streets of Kiev, Ukraine, was typical for the outspoken journalist Georgy Gangazi. So when Gangazi, who exposed government corruption on his website, The Ukrainian Truth, when he disappeared last September, it was cause for alarm. Even more so when his headless body was found 2 months later. But this case erupted into political scandal when audio tapes were released of Ukrainian President Leonid Kuchma allegedly saying it would be good if Gangazi were to disappear. The tapes were made by one of Kuchma's own bodyguards, seen here in a taped deposition describing how he hid a tape recorder under a couch in the president's office. While at first Kuchma denied it was his voice in the tapes, he has recently admitted it was indeed his voice, but he claims the tapes have been doctored.
Our president, Leonid Kuchma, had absolutely nothing to do with the disappearance of Mr. Gangazi.
There are those tapes, however.
Neither any specialists, any organizations, commissions were able to prove their authenticity.
Most Ukrainians still cannot believe their president was involved in Gangazi's death, but thousands have taken to the streets calling for Kuchma's resignation, most notably Gangazi's widow Miroslava.
President Kuchma and his circle of people are responsible for the death of my husband.
Now living in Washington, D.C. with political asylum and afraid for her life and her children's lives, Miroslava is turning to Ukrainian Americans here in New York to avenge her husband's death. But Ukrainian officials say they don't need America's help. They say they've solved this case, saying Gangazi's murder was the result of a robbery and the thieves behind his death have since died. However, the case is far from closed. The Kroll Agency, which has investigated cases ranging from Saddam Hussein's finances to the Covenant House scandal, has been hired by Ukraine's Labor Party to investigate the murder.
If, in fact, Kuchma hires you or the government hires you, then, in fact, they're going to control your product.
Well, all I can tell you is that my reputation and the firm's reputation is we do independent investigations.
And many are waiting for those conclusions, including the Ukrainian-American community here in New York, for which the state of affairs in Ukraine is very, very important.
I find it very hard to believe. On the other hand, if you look back at communist history and the people involved, you'd have to admit that these people are capable of this.
The hope lies in the young people in Ukraine that are arising as a result of this incident, and that they're trying to bring it to the attention of the world.
International law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, have been called upon to investigate the murder and its connection with Kuchma, but with no success. The next chapter in this saga will come when the Kroll Agency releases its report next month. I'm Bill Butel, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
After 25 years of driving a taxi through the streets of Kiev, Ukraine, Nadia was forced to retire because of the pain. Even the slightest movement is agonizing. She describes it as being stabbed in the stomach again and again.
My stomach is stitched, this burst, my intestines stick out, they tore open my lung. I have to have another operation. I pay any price just if they would only fix me. I'm constantly bandaged with rubberized bandages. I just want help.
What started out as a simple appendix operation resulted in 5 more surgeries. During the last one, she says doctors left instruments inside her. Doctors here at the state-run clinic insist there's nothing wrong with her.
My doctors here examined her and she is fine. There is nothing we can do to help her. Nothing. We are not authorized to operate.
So Roman, her husband, is forced to illegally buy painkillers for her on the black market. The bazaar, as it's called, similar to this one. Anna, who now works for her husband, a kvass stand owner, is a former surgery nurse. She would not speak on camera, but she said that one of the reasons she quit was because of the butchering and botched operations she says she witnessed. She was not surprised at all to hear that instruments were left inside a patient. For the last 5 years, Nadia has written more than 200 letters and petitions to government officials and agencies. Every day, she protests in front of the Parliament building in Kiev to try to get someone to listen and help her. At the Ministry of Health, they claimed never to have heard of Nadia's case, never to have received any letters from her. No officials would speak to us, and we were escorted out by the militia. But according to Nadia, the KGB seems to be very aware of her letters.
During one of my operations, while I was on the operating table, a KGB agent burst into the room, grabbed my hair, pulled my head back, and yelled in my face, "Why are you protesting and complaining to the authorities? I'm cut in half and this man is interrogating me? Is this normal, the way they practice medicine in the Soviet Union?"
They cut her up. She is in pain and suffering. She has been violated and no one seems to care but me.
Well, life around here isn't so bad for the wild and exotic.
Like you. Believe it or not.
Animals, that is.
Believe it or not. When they're in town, they get the lion's share of pampering. Lara Spencer is here with the story.
You guys, you know it is hard enough for us humans to get a nice hotel room here in New York City, but what do you do when you're traveling with an aardvark, a hawk, and 2 lizards? No, this is not a joke. There's no punchline needed. This is an everyday occurrence for Joan Embry. She is the wildlife expert at the San Diego Zoo.
Joan Embry says, come on into her hotel room. Grab a seat on that red chair. Whoa, whoa, watch the lizard. You know, how about the couch? Let me just move that ball. Oh, that's right, it moves on its own. Now, don't call the manager. He knows all about the armadillo and says it's as welcome at the Parker Meridian as Joan is.
At the Parker Meridian, we try to accommodate every being and soul that needs a nice warm place to stay in New York City.
Nope, not a gargoyle, just another guest enjoying the $1 million view at the Parker Meridian. And for Javier, it's the rooftop running track that's the big attraction.
We roll him up on his dolly to the jogging track, and off he goes, trotting around until he's had enough fun and exercise.
There's probably something else you should know about Javier before you book a room here.
The anteater loves to take a bath in the bathtub. He loves to frolic in the water and lay on his back and scrub himself and clean himself and scratch himself, and it's really very amusing.
At $400 a night, the animals are treated like any other guest.
On our last trip, we had a koala that flew with us, and we flew in 200 pounds of fresh eucalyptus, so that had to be refrigerated. So we were able to use the hotel refrigerators.
As for sleeping accommodations, it can get a little wild.
It might mean getting up in the middle of the night to take one potty, or to exercise one, or let it play for a while so it's ready to go back to sleep. It's just like having a small child.
The maids love it because Joan does all the cleaning.
We bring our own vacuums. We bring our own sheets, which we tape to the floor around where the cages are.
Joan knows the perception that the animals are, well, pigs, but she says it's just the opposite.
I think my animals are cleaner than people.
I don't know. I still wouldn't get a room with one. Anyway, if you should find yourself in need of a room with a real tiger of the four-legged variety, you should know that the Mayflower Hotel also accommodates wild animals. Bill?
Oh, thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Lara.
Well, religion plays an important role in many people's lives, and now studies show that living longer may actually have a lot to do with regular visits to your house of worship. Stacy Sager is here with a special report for us. Stacy, this is interesting.
It is, Rob and Roz. To say you'd live at least 7 years longer if you regularly attend religious services sounds a little unbelievable, but that is what a recent study suggests. In fact, there have now been several studies suggesting that religion increases lifespan, but not everybody is a believer.
These parishioners at the Community Baptist Church in Queens will definitely tell you religion makes their lives better. But longer? Well, maybe.
I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't hang out in that type of environment because my lifestyle here doesn't call for that. It's a whole different thing. So on that point alone, I guess I would live longer.
I feel much better in the mind and body and soul.
In fact, researchers at the University of Texas surveyed 21,000 people and found that attending religious services of any kind on a regular basis can add 7 years to your life. Similar studies in California find that attending religious services can reduce mortality by 20 to 30%. Dr. David Larson runs a nonprofit group that studies the relationship between religion and health.
It was when you started to go to church, synagogue, mosque, or temple that your healthy lifestyle activities increased. That is, you stopped smoking, you stopped drinking, and your social supports increased. And when you stopped going, the reverse happened.
The research actually shows that those who never attend religious services are 4 times as likely to die from respiratory disease, diabetes, or infectious diseases. Dr. Daniel Smolsky is both a Franciscan friar and an internist at St. Vincent's Hospital.
We know that prayer has influences on the immune system, so people who meditate may have less stress, better immune reactions. There may be a sense of discipline that comes from regular church going.
There's no doubt that any religion can change lifestyle, and that can affect your health. But some psychologists are alarmed by this link, especially if it's taken too seriously.
Religion treats souls. Medicine treats people. Medicine treats patients. And we ought to keep the two separate. I think it should be separate because of the inherent dangers, the dangers of coercion, the dangers of doing harm, of persuading somebody that they're responsible for their illness because they've been insufficiently faithful. That's a terrible thing to say to somebody.
No matter how much religion may affect health, the mounds of research show it is clearly a factor. For most, just a sense of wellness from within.
I think it brings serenity and a sense of balance and a sense of belonging in a more universal way than picking at the little troubles of daily life.
The American Medical Association has no formal position on religion and health, but doctors at the AMA say that more and more medical schools are beginning to teach courses in spirituality and medicine. This as more and more patients are demanding that some form of spirituality be brought into their health care. Rosalind.
Right. Thank you, Stacy.
Tell me, why are you not a volunteer fireman?
I don't have the time.
See, you know what? I don't have an excuse, but I mean, I have no time. I mean, if you take, 12-hour day minimum, and then, I have to 8 hours sleep or whatever, that's 20 hours right there.
Why do some people like to play basketball and people like to play hockey? People like to do certain things. I don't know. I don't like to put out fires, and I'm glad there's people who do.
In Suffolk County, officials told us even though statistics indicate an overall increase in volunteer firefighters, actual numbers seem to be decreasing. which brings up the question whether the individual departments have been submitting accurate numbers in years past. But in Nassau County, the Fire Marshal's office acknowledged outright that numbers of volunteers are dwindling.
I think in Nassau County 20 years ago we had 10,000, give or take 100 volunteer fire rescue people, and today we probably have 8,500, about 15% reduction.
And because of their local volunteer fire department, the Guzman family has a lot to be thankful for. Alfredo and Monica Guzman and their 3 children used to live in this Brentwood apartment until it was destroyed by a fire last August. And even though the family and all their belongings are temporarily crammed into this tiny hotel room, they say they're still extremely grateful to the volunteer firefighters who answered their call for help.
I give them full compliment for giving me, my kids, and my wife, and a second chance in life.